Out in the forest the orange tree grows. Way in the back, nobody knows. The fruit it grows is magical indeed. Just one bite will put you to sleep. Chapter 1. Arrivals. A slender man steps out from the taxi into the parking lot asphalt. The ground feels hard beneath his feet. His bag is in his hand. He extends the handle, puts the wheels on the ground, and readies himself to move forward, but he can't. Inside the bag, he feels the weight of the books. They are the single heaviest burden of his life. He wrote them. He wrote every single one. Now he just wants to be rid of them all. In front of him stands a Marriott Convention Center. It encroaches the night sky like a menacing tower of darkness and misery. As he stares between the automatic doors to the check-in counter, he cannot help but feel that the building wants to swallow him alive. It's just another Marriott, Norman reminds himself. Norman stares into the cavernous mouth of the hotel and summons courage to move forward, but his feet refuse to move. It is just another Marriott. He thinks loudly and with more conviction. He is a professional motivator, and at the very least, he should be able to motivate himself. It is just another Marriott. Start moving. Now. Norman moves his feet, one step at a time. He can do this. While Norman contemplates whether or not his feet should take him forward, another man sits, already inside the hotel. Inside the Marriott, on the third floor, in a plain room with a crappy view, Burton Wright sits on his bed and talks into the hotel phone. The sheets are tucked tightly. They are unmoved from the original position in which they existed at the moment Burton first walked into his room. Burton sits on top of the pillow, with his back to the headboard. The headboard is padded and provides pressure across Burton's aching back. Each pillowed cushion works itself into a stiff and sore spot on Burton's back, giving him a gentle massage and support when he needs it most. He leans deeply into the wall, letting his head tilt as far back as it can. You might describe him as looking resigned. He is engaged in an argument that he cannot win, and he knows it. The woman on the other side of the phone yammers on, frantically telling Burton what a fool he has been and how much danger he has put them in. "I'm telling you, Martha," Burton tries to sound convincing. "It's not going to be like the last time." Burton closes his eyes as his wife berates him through the phone. With each statement, he can feel her words pound into him like tiny fists. He presses his fingers into his eye sockets as he's plunging a hole that causes him great pain. Plugging. I guess as the author I should learn to read. He presses his fingers into his eye sockets as he is plugging a hole that is causing him great pain. "But Martha," she keeps talking, How does she find the breath to talk so fast? Martha, Burton pleads, hoping that she will stop yelling for one moment so that he can explain. Burton waits. He counts the floral patterns on the wall. Was there a pattern that he missed? Maybe he should start counting again. He has counted the same 12 patterns 3 times before. He tries again to break Martha's stride and interjects himself into the conversation. I'm telling you, Martha, I won't sign up for anything. I'm just here to learn a little bit more about positive thinking. You know how much harder I work when I come back from these things. I'll be here for a few days. Then I will come home, and I'll be so energized that I'll sell 500, no, I'll sell 1,000 vacuum cleaners. I promise you, I just have to get my head right. This is our year, Martha. This is our year. Burton Wright sells vacuum cleaners. Not just any vacuum cleaner, though. He sells the best vacuum cleaner that money can buy. His vacuum cleaner is so good that the company would not dare do the customer the disservice of letting a customer go without seeing firsthand the sucking power of this wonder jet. And men like Burton sign on as independent sales reps, hoping for the chance to represent the makers of this fine piece of machinery with polished springs and exactly measured inner workings in the living rooms of people just like you. And for his hard work, Burton gets a small commission and the chance to be rich. His own man. At least, that was the dream that he bought. That was the reason he signed the papers. Martha is still talking. He wonders if she heard any of the things he said. Did she hear him when he said that he was just here for a mental adjustment? Did she hear him when he said that there would be nothing for him to buy at this conference? Does she ever hear him when he talks? That is the end of chapter 1. So far we've met 2 characters. Well, I guess 3. But we didn't really meet Martha, did we? She was on the phone the whole time. In fact, we didn't even hear what she was saying. We met a man named Norman who's walking into the hotel, and a man named Burton Wright. I wonder if these are the 2 men that the synopsis talked about on the back. We'll find out more as we go into chapter 2. Chapter 2. The conference begins. Norman's hotel room is dark and silent. He snores softly. A fly makes a perfect landing on the window outside the hotel room, just for a moment of rest before it takes off again to do the things that flies would do so early on a new day. The air is still, quiet, and unmoving. The darkness remains unbroken, even by the light of the moon, which is still high outside, but blocked by the thick hotel curtains, which would block out the midday sun. If Norman had wanted it to be blocked. The clock ticks, and a buzzing, disquieting alarm breaks the silence next to Norman's bed. He opens his eyes for a moment, but Norman lets the alarm clock squawk. Life was so much easier for Norman before. He went to work in a regular job. He had a nice and comfortable office. He left work to go home to his apartment. And at his apartment, his fiancée would be waiting with his cat, which he named Fido to be ironic. Life was so much better then. Norman cannot remember the last time that he saw a place that he could call home. In fact, he had bought a home once, but it has been so long since he saw it that he and his accountant, who is also named Norman, by the way, decided that it would be financially best if Norman sold his home and lived life on the road. Hotel after hotel, plane after plane, conference after conference. Maybe he didn't make much money back then, in the time before all of this, but life was certainly happier, and he had so much more energy. Norman gives the clock the look of death, and the alarm squawks again and again. The face of the clock reads 4:15, and Norman knows that staying in bed is not an option. He tries to coax himself into the beginning of the day. He is quite good at convincing people to do things, but he does find that convincing himself is usually much harder than convincing a crowd. Success is about persistence, he reminds himself. We must push ourselves to excel every hour of every day. Norman lets the mantras that got him to the peak of his success run through his mind like a record player on repeat. He thinks for a moment about the size of his bank account. These are more than just mantras. They are rules to live by, and Norman is living proof that they work. The alarm squawks again. It feels louder this time. Louder and louder, the alarm pounds against the hotel room walls. Success is about persistence. We must push ourselves. I control my destiny. My destiny does not control me. The alarm's beeping thumps against the walls like a drum. Beep. Silent pause. Beep. Silent pause. Beep. Norman slaps his hand down on the buzzing box to silence it and jumps to his feet. The clock reads 4:16. Burton holds his arms out wide and says aloud, "I am ready. Bring on the day." Norman showers in the hotel shower. He uses cold water. It keeps the shower short and ensures that the blood starts pumping quickly. The shower takes him exactly 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Norman brushes his teeth. He uses a toothbrush with a medium firmness and Crest dual-action toothpaste. He sings a song to himself as he brushes to ensure that he remains on time. After the song is done, he spits, rinses, and immediately reaches for his razor and shaving cream, which he staged before he went to sleep. He lathers his cheeks, chin, and a little bit under his nose. He gives himself a clean shave, and he wipes his face clean with a fresh towel before applying aftershave. The timely burn reminds him of the inner fire that he must constantly stoke to stay ahead of the sheep. He is the wolf, and he must remain sharp. The clock reads 4:25. He steps into a pressed suit. He weaves his fine black leather belt through the loopholes and affixes the solid gold belt buckle. He adjusts the belt back and forth, making certain that his mirror reflects a perfect gig line. He fixes the solid gold cufflinks and places the new Rolex watch so that it is just so on his left wrist. The clock now reads 4:29. Norman looks in the mirror and adjusts the red solid tie knot. It is just a simple double Windsor. It is clean. It is practiced. It is tight. And he positions it just right on his neck. The clock reads 4:30, and Norman opens the hotel room door. He turns to the clock to see the time and smiles to himself. Like Clockwork, he exclaims, and he exits into the hallway with a burst of energy. Elsewhere, in the hotel, and at a later time in the day, when the sun is already high, Burton Wright goes through the long, laborious process that is waking up. Burton wakes up much more slowly than other men. He stands from his bed, one leg at a time. Often this process is interrupted by a break as he contemplates whether or not he wants to continue. Once he is out of his bed, he slides open the curtain slowly and looks out into the morning sun. He admires the reflection of the sun as it bounces off each of the rooftops of the cars below. It's another convention center on another day, a familiar sight for Burton, and the sign of good things to come. Conventions are almost like vacations for Burton, except they bring the promise of making money and self-improvement. Burton takes in a deep breath, as if he is trying to inhale the view from his hotel window. Burton knows something special. Today is the day. Burton is going to change his life today. He is not sure how, but he has come to the right ship. Sorry. Burton is going to change his life today, and he is not sure how, but he has come to right the ship and regain control over his fortunes. Martha will be so proud of her husband when he shows her how this investment has paid off. That is why Burton comes to these conventions. It is a chance to fill his head with the secrets to success. It is a chance to surround himself with the people who have achieved what he wishes to achieve. It is the secret to crossing that fateful bridge that crosses from where he is to where he wants to be. He takes his time in the mornings. He showers. He dresses. No one from his hometown will see him today, so he puts on a red polo shirt and blue jeans. He doesn't have to look amazing. I can be productive and be comfortable, Burton says to himself. Burton ponders as he stares into the sun. Will he have time to get breakfast at the hotel buffet before they clean it up? The hour is late, and the staff is probably ready to put all the breakfast items away. He slides his room key off the dresser, he takes his wallet, and he saunters out the door towards the elevators. The line for breakfast is empty. So are all the tables except one. There, two women sit. A woman eats with her girlfriend. They look like they might be on vacation. Burton puffs his chest and thinks to himself, I don't need vacations. I am a businessman. Burton daydreams for a moment about that day in the not-so-distant future when he no longer has to get his own breakfast, and he can send a paid employee to gather the foodstuffs onto plates and bring them to a table where he is doing something important. Burton can't imagine what he would be doing yet, but it will be important. Burton gathers nearly cold food onto his plate. He gets bacon, a little bit of scrambled eggs, 2 pieces of French toast, a single pancake with blueberries on top, a little whipped cream, and a tall coffee. Burton watches as the staff starts collecting the trays. It must be almost 10 a.m., he thinks to himself. To the young man in the red vest cleaning, who is removing the stainless steel covers from each warming plate, Burton asks, Was it a busy morning? The hotel waiter, who doubles as a front desk clerk on the non-breakfast hours, looks up from his buffet line and smiles. The busiest, he says. He returns to work, hurrying to clear the buffet so they can get ready for the lunch rush. Is there a lot of people here for the conference? Burton asks. The waiter looks up again. Yes, there is. Are you here with the conference? Burton sits tall in his seat. Yes, in fact I am. The waiter looks a little puzzled. Aren't you worried that you are missing out on the seminars? They started hours ago. No, Burton says. I come to these things a lot. The first 2 hours is always a lot of rah-rah baloney. It is not important. I'm here for the good stuff. Oh. The waiter continues to work while Burton talks. He then says, that makes sense, I guess. Enjoy your breakfast. Burton adjusts his seat to enjoy the view of a large piece of artwork and a television that broadcasts the morning news station. He eats his food slowly and takes the time to taste and enjoy every bite, even if it is slightly cold. Well, it seems like our two main characters, Norman and Burton, are very different indeed. Norman seems very rigid. Everything is by the clock. Burton doesn't seem to care much about how he looks or whether or not he's punctual. These men are very different indeed.